Princess Cerelia stood on the wide marble balcony of the royal palace. The twin moons hung low in the violet sky. They cast soft light on the great towers and the gardens below. Cerelia's pale blue hair drifted in the gentle night breeze. She watched her people moving through the grand plaza. The silver banners of House Arian rippled like water. Below her, a line of human soldiers stood at attention. They wore polished metal armor with Earth's flag on their shoulders. Cerelia's eyes searched the line. One human stood apart. He was taller than the rest and broad-shouldered. His dark hair was cut short, and his brown eyes glowed with curiosity. He did not look at the crowd. He looked at her. Cerelia felt a small thrill in her chest. She had seen human soldiers before. They guarded her sister and her mother. They kept peace between their worlds. But she had never seen one stare at her so boldly. She frowned. No one must stare at the princess. It was a rule of her world. Yet she could not look away. Marcus felt the weight of every eye on him as he stood guard. He wanted to be invisible. He wanted to blend in. But the moment he first saw Cerelia on her balcony, his heart had leaped. Her hair glowed blue under moonlight. Her gown was white and silver, like starlight woven into fabric. He could not stop looking. He tried to focus on his orders. He must stay alert for threats. But the palace grounds were calm. The only danger he felt was in his own mind. He wondered, what would she be like if he spoke to her? Would she be kind or cold? He had no right to think of such things. He was her guard, not her friend. Still, every moment he watched her, he learned more. He learned the gentle curve of her smile. He learned the way she lifted her chin when she thought deeply. He learned how her eyes shone when she examined her people. Cerelia's advisor, Lord Quinter, stepped quietly beside her. He bowed his head. "Your Highness, the ceremony will begin soon. Shall we return inside?" Cerelia followed his gaze to the humans below. "Why does that one human stare at me so?" she asked in a soft voice. Lord Quinter glanced down at Marcus. He raised an eyebrow. "He is Captain Marcus Hale of Earth's First Fleet. He is new to..." The grand hall glowed with soft lantern light. Long tables held dishes from many worlds. Exotic fruits, spiced meats, and silver goblets shone on polished marble. Music floated from the corners where alien musicians played calming tunes. Guests from distant planets and human ambassadors filled the room. Princess Cerelia walked in last, her gown gliding behind her. She held her head high. Every eye turned to her. She took her seat at the raised dais beside her mother, Queen Ariana. The queen's jeweled crown sparkled under the lights. Cerelia forced a polite smile. Captain Marcus Hale stood guard near the dais. He remained still, eyes sharp for threats. But his thoughts raced. He watched Cerelia arrange her napkin with careful grace. He saw the gentle way she nodded to honored guests. He admired her calm in front of so many strangers. Cerelia glanced at the guards. After the dinner, the guests drifted toward the glittering palace gardens. Silver paths wound among tall alien trees with glowing flowers. Lanterns hung from curved branches, lighting the way. Music from distant streams mixed with soft night wind. Princess Cerelia led the human ambassador and her court through the garden gate, yet she paused at a smaller archway marked private. She turned to Lord Quinter. "I wish for a quiet stroll," she said softly. Lord Quinter hesitated. "Your Highness, only guards and close advisors may enter." Cerelia lifted her chin. "I choose my guard." She looked toward Captain Marcus Hale. Marcus stood at attention near the fountain. He offered a brief bow. Cerelia nodded. Together, they slipped through the private arch, leaving the ambassador and nobles behind. Inside the hidden garden, the air felt different. The flowers glowed pale blue, and the moonlight danced on leaves. Cerelia breathed deeply. She felt peace away from curious eyes. Marcus followed quietly. His armor clinked with each step. Cerelia turned to him. "Why do you stare at me?" she asked in a gentle voice. Marcus's heart pounded. He had rehearsed words, but now none came. He swallowed. You are brave, he said. You are kind, and you carry yourself like someone who bears great weight. Cerelia's eyes widened. She never heard such words from a guard. I do my duty, she replied, folding her hands before her. Duty must be done well. Marcus looked around the secret pond. Its water was clear and still. Fish with silver fins swam lazily. I have duty too, he said, to protect you. But I want more. He paused. I want to know you. Cerelia studied him. Guards did not speak their minds. They obeyed. But here, in this hidden place, he dared honesty. She felt a flutter in her chest. How can a human understand alien duties? She asked. Marcus touched a glowing flower. I read your history files, he said. I know your people value courage and honor. I try to honor you. Cerelia looked at the flower's soft glow. Careful, she murmured. These blossoms are rare. They break at the slightest touch. Marcus withdrew his hand and bowed his head. Forgive me. She lifted a brow. You did not break it. She stepped closer and set her hand beside his. The flower light bathed them. You learn quickly, human. Marcus dared to meet her eyes. I learned from you. A breeze stirred. Petals drifted across the garden path. Cerelia closed her eyes and let a petal land on her shoulder. It was the color of moonlight. This place is forbidden to most, she said softly. I have not walked here in years. Marcus's voice was gentle. Then I am honored. She opened her eyes. The glow from the flowers made her pale hair shine. He saw her not as a distant princess, but as someone fragile. He took a careful step forward. May I ask something? Cerelia nodded. Do you ever wish to leap behind the crown and the rules? Cerelia stared at him. Her heart beat fast. She had never spoken such thoughts aloud. I do, she whispered. For a long moment, they stood in silence. In the private garden, under glowing blooms, guard and princess shared a truth that could change both their worlds. 500 words. The moon had climbed higher when a distant alarm rang through the gardens. Princess Cerelia and Captain Marcus Hale froze. Red lights pulsed at the palace walls, followed by the heavy thud of distant explosions. Cerelia's heart raced. What is happening? She whispered. Marcus drew his sword with a calm precision. Rebel drones, Your Highness. They aim to disrupt tonight's peace celebration. He sheathed the blade and took her hand. We must move to safety. They darted along winding paths. Lanterns swayed overhead, casting dancing shadows. Alien guards rushed past, shouting orders. Cerelia stayed close to Marcus. She felt the firm grip of his hand guiding her through the chaos. Ahead, a squad of drones swooped low, firing bursts of red energy. Marcus placed himself in front of Cerelia and raised his shield. The first blast struck the shield with a crack of light. Sparks flew. Cerelia's breath caught as she saw Marcus press forward. He swung his sword, slicing through a drone's wing. It spiraled away, its engine hissing. Above them, more drones appeared. Marcus turned to Cerelia. Follow me, he shouted. He led her down a narrow corridor of hedges. The hedges glowed faintly, lighting their path. Cerelia stumbled on the soft grass, but Marcus caught her wrist. Stay close, he urged. They burst into the inner courtyard. Here, marble statues stood in rows, and fountains lay silent. Marcus scanned the sky. We need to reach the secure vault under the throne room. Cerelia nodded, trusting him completely. She placed her hand on a statue's cold base for balance. This way, she said, pointing to a hidden door in the floor. Marcus nodded and helped her lift the secret latch. They slipped inside together. The hatch closed above them with a firm click. Below the palace, narrow tunnels twisted through ancient stone. Torches burned along the walls. The air was cool and carried the smell of old earth. Cerelia shivered. Marcus offered his cloak. Here, he wrapped it gently around her shoulders. You must stay warm. She felt gratitude swell in her chest. Thank you, she said softly. He smiled, but there was no time for tenderness. "Stay behind me." They crept through the tunnel. Distant explosions echoed above. Ceralia's heart pounded in time with the tremors. She thought of her people, of the ceremony interrupted, and of Marcus's brave face. At the end of the tunnel, a heavy door led to the vault. Marcus placed his hand on a carved panel. The door slid open with a low hiss. Inside were safety rooms and emergency supplies. Ceralia stepped in, closing the door behind them. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Marcus stood by the control panel, securing the door. "Are you hurt?" she asked, searching his face. He shook his head. "I'm fine." He checked the locks. "These vault doors will hold until the royal guards regain control." Ceralia turned to him. The flicker of torchlight made shadows on his face. She realized that fear and bravery lived side by side in him. She reached out and touched his cheek. He stiffened, surprised by the gentle contact. She paused. "You saved me." Marcus looked into her eyes. "I will always protect you." In the silent vault, princess and guard stood together. Outside, the battle raged. But here, they found a moment of safety, and a bond forged in danger. 500 words. Dawn light seeped through the narrow vents of the vault. Princess Ceralia sat on a low bench, wrapped in Marcus's cloak. She watched the soft glow brighten the stone walls. Outside, distant shouts told her the palace guards had retaken control. Safety returned at last. Marcus knelt beside her, checking the small device on his wrist. "We are clear," he said. "The rebels are driven back." Ceralia nodded, her mind still racing. "You did well," she said quietly. "You saved my life." Marcus offered a shy smile. "I only did my duty, Your Highness." She looked at him, eyes thoughtful. "No," she said softly. "You did more than duty. You risked everything for me." He met her gaze, unsure. The flicker of torchlight in the vault made his features soft. Marcus ran a hand through his short, dark hair. "I care about you," he admitted. "More than duty." Ceralia's breath caught. She had never heard such words spoken so honestly in these halls. She reached out and placed her hand over his. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus pressed her hand gently. "May I speak freely?" he asked. She nodded. "You may." He stood and walked to the center of the room. He took a steady breath. "I have admired you since the first day I saw you on the balcony. I saw your strength, your kindness, and your courage. Each day, I learned more, and I fell in love." Ceralia's heart pounded. She did not know what to say. Love was rare in her world. Arranged marriages, political alliances, and duty filled every life. Yet she felt something new in her chest, a warmth that spread like morning light. She rose slowly and stepped toward Marcus. The cloak slipped from her shoulders, and he caught it before it fell. She looked at him, her pale blue hair framing her face. "Love," she repeated softly. "I have never allowed myself to feel that." Marcus's eyes shone. He offered his hand. "Will you let me show you?" Ceralia took his hand, feeling its strength. "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "Show me." They stood close. The vault's cool air seemed to fade. Ceralia felt safe in his gaze. She wondered what lay ahead for them, what her mother would say, what her court would think. But for now, those worries were far away. Marcus gently guided her to a stone ledge by the vent. Birds chirped softly outside. Sunlight grew stronger. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple ring, a gift he had received from Earth's envoy. It was plain silver, but shiny and new. Ceralia's eyes widened. "Marcus, you did not." He smiled. "I want you to have something from my world." He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Tears glistened in Ceralia's eyes. She looked at the ring, then at Marcus. "I will treasure this," she whispered. He bowed his head and pressed her hand to his lips. "Thank you for trusting me." Ceralia placed her other hand on his shoulder. "I trust you," she said softly. completely. For a moment, Princess and guard found a gentle peace in the hidden vault. Outside, the world prepared for the new day. Inside, a new chapter began for both of them, one of growing love and shared destiny. The sun rose fully by the time Princess Cerelia and Captain Marcus Hale returned to the palace gardens. Royal attendants had cleared debris and repaired lanterns. The water in the fountains sparkled again. Cerelia paused at the marble steps leading into the palace. "Marcus," she said, "tonight I wish to learn about your world." Marcus bowed. "I am honored, Your Highness." He led her into a quiet courtyard used for private lessons. A low table and cushions lay near a flowering bonsai tree. Cerelia sat gracefully on a cushion. "Teach me your customs, Marcus," she said in simple voice. "I want to understand Earth." Marcus knelt before the table. He set down 2 bowls of food, a warm earth tea and small sandwiches, bread and cheese pressed between thin slices of meat. Cerelia eyed the food curiously. "In Earth custom," Marcus began, "people share meals to show respect and friendship." He poured tea into a small cup and offered it to her. "Please taste." Cerelia lifted the cup and sipped. The sweet warmth spread in her chest. "It is gentle," she said with surprise. "I like this." Marcus smiled. "Good." He took a sandwich and offered it. "On Earth, we often eat simple foods with hands. We call this a sandwich." Cerelia hesitated but picked up the sandwich. She bit gently, careful not to make a mess. Chewing slowly, she nodded. Simple, satisfying. Marcus watched her with gentle pride. "Now I will teach you a greeting." He demonstrated extending his hand, palm out, and saying, "Hello." On Earth, this shows trust. Cerelia studied him. She extended her hand, and he grasped it firmly. "Hello," she said. Her alien accent made the word soft. "Perfect," Marcus encouraged. He released her hand. "One more custom. On Earth, if you wish to praise someone, you look into their eyes and say what you admire." Cerelia looked at him. Her pale blue eyes met his brown ones. She felt her heart flutter. "I admire your courage," she said quietly. Marcus's face brightened. "Thank you," he replied. "Your turn." She blinked. "My turn." Marcus nodded. He met her gaze. "You admire and respect what you see." Cerelia thought of her world, where compliments were rare. She remembered his words in the secret garden. She took a steady breath. "I admire your honesty," she said softly. Marcus's eyes glowed with warmth. He bowed his head in gratitude. "That means more to me than any medal." They sat in silence for a moment, sharing simple food and honest words. The bonsai tree's blossoms drifted down like confetti. Cerelia felt lighter than she had in a long time. Marcus stood and offered his arm. "Shall we walk?" Cerelia took it, smiling. "Yes." They strolled through the palace corridors. Marcus explained Earth's festivals, music, and simple games. Cerelia laughed when he showed her how to play tag outside the throne room. Guards watched in surprise as the princess chased her guard down the marble hall. By evening, Cerelia felt she knew Marcus's world a little better, and he had glimpsed her heart. As they paused by a stained glass window, she turned to him. "Thank you, Marcus, for sharing your customs." He bowed again. "And thank you, Your Highness, for sharing your trust." In that moment, Princess and guard found a bond that bridged 2 worlds, born from gentle lessons and honest friendship. 500 words. The next morning, Princess Cerelia found Marcus in the courtyard by the koi pond. He stood beside the water, tossing small breadcrumbs to the fish. Their silver scales flashed in the sunlight. Cerelia approached quietly. "Good morning, Marcus," she said with a soft smile. He looked up and bowed. "Good morning, Your Highness." Cerelia sat on a stone bench. "Tell me about Earth," she said. "Share your stories." Marcus paused, thinking. "Earth has many people," he began. "We face challenges, just like here, but we rely on hope and teamwork." He sat beside her and waved at the koi. My hometown was by the sea. I grew up helping my family fish and repair boats. Cyrilia listened as the koi nibbled crumbs. She pictured a world of water and boats. Was it peaceful? She asked. Not always, Marcus replied. Storms came often. Sometimes we lost boats and homes, but people helped each other rebuild. Strangers became friends. Cyrilia traced a pattern on the bench. We have storms here too. Our sky ships fall, and creatures invade. Yet we depend on strength and order. Marcus nodded. Order matters, but so does kindness. On Earth, we say, a single act of kindness can change a life. Cyrilia considered this. Kindness, it is rare in politics. He turned to her. You showed me kindness when you trusted me, even though protocol said you shouldn't. She looked at her hands. I did not know then how brave I was, or how brave you would be. Marcus smiled sadly. My people taught me bravery is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Cyrilia stood and moved to the pond's edge. She dropped a crumb into the water. A koi darted and ate it. She watched its quick movement. Tell me about your family, she said. They must be proud. Marcus's gaze softened. My mother is a teacher. She taught me to seek knowledge and ask questions. My father is a mechanic. He built engines that fly us through space. He paused. When I joined the fleet, they worried. They thought war would change me. Cyrilia turned to him, her eyes clear. Did it? Marcus looked into the pond. It changed me in many ways. I have seen loss and pain. But I have also seen courage, like yours tonight. Cyrilia felt warmth in her chest. She stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. Your stories bring my world to life. Thank you. He bowed his head. Thank you for listening. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the koi glide through clear water. Cyrilia felt a growing respect for Earth's people and for Marcus's courage. She realized that understanding came from sharing stories, not commands. A bright collusion bird perched above them and sang a clear note. Marcus stood and offered his hand. Shall we continue? Cyrilia took his hand and rose. Yes, she said. As they walked toward the palace, she felt hope for their worlds. Through stories and kindness, they built a bridge of trust. And in that trust, something more began to grow. One story at a time. 500 words. Before sunrise, the palace grounds were quiet. Dew covered the grass like a silver carpet. Princess Cyrilia slipped from her chambers in a soft gown. She carried the small silver ring Marcus had given her. Her heart felt full of questions and hope. Marcus waited by the reflecting pool at the edge of the garden. He wore his uniform, but had removed his armor. His dark hair caught the first light of dawn. When he saw Cyrilia, he bowed deeply. Your Highness. Cyrilia lifted her hand, showing the ring. I wore this all night, she said softly. It reminds me of you. Marcus's eyes lit. He stepped forward and gently took her hand. I am honored, he replied. His voice was steady but warm. They stood by the still water. The sky moved from deep blue to soft pink. A lone bird called in the distance. Cyrilia breathed in the fresh air. Marcus, she began, you said you loved me. I felt it in my heart. But love is rare here. I need to understand. Marcus looked into her pale blue eyes. He knelt on one knee, surprising her. Princess Cyrilia, he said, I stand before you not as a guard, but as a man who loves you. Will you let me stand by your side, not just in duty, but in life? Cyrilia's breath caught. She covered her mouth to hide a smile. Tears glistened in her eyes. She thought of their secret garden walk, the danger they faced, and the quiet vault where they shared vows. She thought of his stories and his kindness. Her chest swelled with emotion. She knelt before him so they were equal. She placed the ring box in his hand. Inside lay a simple band carved with alien symbols. Marcus, she said, this is my world's promise. If we share our lives, Promise me you will protect my heart as fiercely as you protect my life." Marcus opened the box and saw the ring. His face shone with pride. "I promise," he said, tears in his eyes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly next to his silver gift. Cerelia stood and pulled him to his feet. She held him close. "I love you," she whispered. Marcus pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you more than words can say." They stood in the soft dawn light, united by 2 rings and 2 hearts. Around them, the palace began to stir. Guards walked the paths, and servants opened windows to greet the sun. Cerelia and Marcus released each other and stepped back. They knew challenges awaited: court politics, royal duties, and the eyes of 2 worlds. Yet in that moment, none of that mattered. They had confessed their truth and pledged their love. As the sun's first rays touched the garden, they joined hands and walked back toward the palace. Side by side, princess and guard began the next chapter of their story, one written in loyalty, courage, and love. 500 words. The palace trembled with tension as Cerelia and Marcus walked through the grand hallway. The final battle against the rebels loomed just outside the walls. Royal banners hung torn. Guards hurried past with determined faces. Ceralia's heart beat against her chest as she reached the strategy chamber. Inside, Queen Ariana stood before a large star map table. Alien generals and human officers surrounded her. They whispered plans in urgent tones. Cerelia entered quietly, and all eyes turned toward her. "Your Highness," her mother said, voice firm but kind, "we prepare to defend the palace. Will you lead the fleet from here?" Cerelia met her mother's gaze, then looked at Marcus. He stood beside her, shoulders squared. He wore his uniform, sword at his side. He caught her eye and offered a gentle nod. "I will lead," Cerelia replied. Her voice was calm. "But I wish Marcus to stay by my side." Gasps echoed around the chamber. General Corinth, a tall alien with gray skin, frowned. "Princess, the front lines are too dangerous. Your guard must hold the palace gates." Marcus stepped forward. "General, I volunteer for the front lines. I fight with your soldiers. My place is with them." Cerelia placed her hand on his arm. "No, your place is with me." Her gaze was steady. "Together, we face this threat." Queen Ariana's eyes softened as she watched her daughter and the human captain. "Cerelia, you know the laws. A guard cannot command." Cerelia's voice rose with quiet strength. "I am the heir. I command now." She turned to the room. "Marcus is my chosen protector and partner. His courage and skill are proven. He stands with me." A hush fell. The generals exchanged looks. Queen Ariana held out her hand to the star map. "Very well." She pressed a crystal button, and the map lit up with battle lines. "Marcus, you will serve as my co-commander. Your knowledge of human tactics will guide us." Marcus bowed deeply. "I am honored, Your Majesty." General Corinth stepped forward, gloom in his eyes. "If the princess insists, I will follow Captain Hale's lead." He sighed. "But know this, many will doubt your choice." Cerelia nodded. "Then let our victory prove them wrong." Outside the chamber, the corridors filled with marching troops. Cerelia and Marcus walked side by side, passing human and alien soldiers who saluted them. Their united front lifted the soldiers' spirits. At the palace gates, Marcus stopped and turned to Cerelia. "Are you certain?" he asked softly. "The battle will be fierce." She took his hand. "I am certain. Together, we are stronger." He squeezed her hand and drew his sword. "Then let us show them the power of unity." Cerelia drew her own blade. Its silver edge caught torchlight. She raised it high. "For peace and for our people." Marcus raised his sword beside hers. "For love and for victory." Their voices rang out. Soldiers cheered. In that moment, princess and guard chose each other and chose duty together. Their joined swords forged a promise. Whatever came next, they would face it side by side. Dawn's first light broke over the battlefield. Rebel forces swarmed the outer walls of the palace. Marcus stood at Ceralia's side on the ramparts. Alien and human troops lined the parapets, ready to fight. Ceralia gripped her sword hilt, feeling its smooth warmth. She took a steady breath and glanced at Marcus. He gave her a firm nod. Together, they raised their blades in salute. "Hold fast," Ceralia called. "For peace." A roar rose from their troops. Arrows and energy bolts streaked into the sky. With a thunderous crash, the rebels charged the gates. Marcus met them below with human soldiers. He shouted orders in his clear voice. "Form line. Shield up." Ceralia led the alien warriors. She moved with grace and strength. Her blade flashed as she cut through a drone's wing. When an enemy soldier rushed her, Marcus leaped from the wall to stand beside her. His presence gave her courage. Together, they fought back to back. The battle raged for hours. Marcus directed flanking maneuvers. Ceralia inspired the alien troops with her fearless charge. At one point, a massive rebel walker threatened the main gate. Ceralia called out, "Aim for its control hatch." Marcus saw the plan and shouted to the sharpshooters. Their precise shots jammed the walker's mechanisms, and it collapsed with a ground-shaking roar. Cheers rose from the defenders. Seeing their giant weapon fall, the remaining rebels faltered. Ceralia pressed the advantage. She led a final push with Marcus at her side. The rebels broke ranks and flowed into the desert. Silence fell over the ruined battlefield. Smoke curled from smoldering debris. Troops cheered and clasped each other in relief. Ceralia and Marcus stood on the broken gate. She looked at the wounded soldiers tending each other, human and alien working together. Marcus turned to her, his uniform stained with dust and sweat. Ceralia stepped close. She placed her hand on his chest. "We did it," she said softly. He took her hand and kissed its back. "We did it together." Ceralia's eyes shone. She looked out at the sunrise, turning the sky gold. "Our worlds can trust each other," she said. Marcus nodded. "Yes, today we prove unity is stronger than war." Ceralia faced her people. She raised her sword again. "Let this day mark a new era of peace, trust, and friendship." The cheering grew louder. As the crowd celebrated, Marcus slipped a hand into his pocket and produced a small silver device. He pressed a button, and a hologram image filled the air, a simple heart with two rings intertwined. Ceralia smiled and touched the hologram. He leaned in and whispered, "For love and unity." Ceralia turned and wrapped her arms around him. The cheers softened as everyone watched the princess embrace her guard. In that embrace was the promise of their future, together. Later, in the royal court, Queen Ariana declared, "From this day, Princess Ceralia and Captain Marcus Hale will guide our alliance. Their bond shows us the way." Ceralia and Marcus stood hand in hand. The court rose in unified applause. In their hearts, they knew the road ahead would have challenges, but they would face every trial side by side, united by duty, respect, and love. And so, under twin moons and human suns, princess and guard began their new life, together at last.